of our ongoing series on education, we're celebrating the topic of childhood literacy today.
So today we have literacy expert Gail Lovely here to talk to us about childhood literacy. Welcome, Gail.
Thanks for having me.
So talk to us a little bit about what you mean childhood literacy.
Well, it's interesting because literacy in the old days was just about reading. And really we've expanded that to reading and writing, listening and speaking as well. We really want to begin to look at how children are doing those things starting very young.
Everybody says read to your child, read to your child, read to your child. I mean, are we talking the day you bring them home, start reading? Or
Well, some people do say that we should start as young as that.
It can't hurt.
It can't hurt.
Right.
But I think it's about words and exposing children to lots of vocabulary.
Yeah.
And all that's very important, even from very young age.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a mom, but I'm also a teacher. I currently work as a teacher of teachers, but in the classroom I taught early childhood classes and was really apparent the children who came from homes where they were read to or where they even had books. And I did a lot of inner city work, and children had never had a book in their hands. And you could really see a difference, not just in reading, but in all their subject areas. They just weren't as ready. The statistics in the States are pretty small. I mean, less than half of the families read with their children.
Really?
Less than half. You know, my children are older, but we still, on family vacations, read out loud books. And my kids are 17 and 20.
Aww,
so we
so
still
sweet.
read together.
Yeah.
But most families don't. At about age 7, it drops off.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is how bad I am. Talk about multitasking. As soon as the oldest one could read, I'd have that one read to the other kids.
That's great.
So that the other kids are getting read to, and the oldest one is getting the reading in, and then I'm like killing two birds with one stone, and then I'm also getting dinner done.
Yeah. See, that works. That works.
Everybody's getting
Everybody
read to.
gets to read. Well, in fact, when I was teaching a second grade class, and I was reading a book. I was reading Charlotte's Web, and I started to cry. I cried every time I read Charlotte's Web. It's one of those books.
You know, it's
and the
funny,
children
when you
had never
said that,
seen someone
the first
move.
time when you said Charlotte's Web, that's my
started to
first
tear up.
emotion was
Yeah, there you go.
so sad.
It is.
Yeah.
But the children had never seen anyone get emotional about reading.
Yeah.
And they never saw anyone read because they chose to read. No adults other than teachers. So there is still that going on, and I think the more ways we can bring literacy to kids, the better.
Paige has still got very young children, but my children are older. And really the technology that was available to them, a little bit of the computer, a lot of videos. But now technology brings a whole gamut of new tools. Tell us about what you're seeing in terms of technology out there.
Well, we've come a long way. I think you're right. Not so many years ago, the things that were available for young readers or young learners were very limited, and they were mostly about play. And playing with words is great, but we're really talking about reading and literacy here. We want to move beyond just animated images, but to really work with books that have stories and some interaction as well. We've seen a big transition to that now. And with online learning and with some of the technology tools and toys that are out there, there's a lot of opportunities for children to really explore language in new ways.
I was telling you earlier that there's a sense of independence that they gain when they can, before they can actually read on their own, especially I notice my preschoolers, they like to be read to, but at the same time, they like the independence that they get from doing, digital books.
Exactly.
I mean...
Well, there's a scaffolding built into when we use digital, and that most digital tools will have a tool to help a child who doesn't know how to pronounce a word or doesn't know what a word is.
Right.
And that kind of independent but not yet independent, it's not people dependent.
It's like training
it's powerful.
wheels. Yeah,
exactly.
they like it.
And choice is huge.
Yes.
Right. I think there are such a broad variety of things to do. I mean, there are the games that help them learn grammar and special sounds and, putting words together, the phonetics and all of that. And then there are the websites where, like Disney digital books, where they actually cannot read a book. I mean, it's like going to a library, picking a book, and
off
then
the shelf,
reading it. Right? And then reading it.
Well, the cool thing about Disney digital books that I got a chance to play with a little bit is that a lot of these stories are stuff that they're familiar with. They're characters that they already know.
Right.
Characters that they already have love and feel close to anyway. So they're already wanting to go and read these books because of the characters.
Disney's always done a good job about publishing multiple stories with the same characters or similar characters, so that if you're interested in one of the princesses, there's not just one princess story. There's many different ones, and I think that Disney Digital Books has done a good job of providing that wide range of choices, of levels, of characters. Having hundreds of books just right there at your fingertips, that's really empowering to children, because they get to choose. Instead of mom or dad or someone else, older sibling choosing what's read, that they can choose is powerful. being able to then build a book is even more powerful, right? Then they're choosing what happens.
Right.
So every time we can add a level of choice, that's important. But I think one of the things that's strong for me about this particular product, Disney Digital Books, is that the story still is king.
Right.
That we're not stripping out skills, we're keeping it focused on story. And the Disney artwork is beautiful, and it's all there.
Right.
Yes, and they get to control some of that too. I was going to ask you though, so I have my kids reading to each other, and I can imagine that with the Disney Digital Books, they could, well, they kind of can get competitive on the computer a little bit. I could see them trying to outread one another, and
But there's got to be a lot of benefit to that.
well, yeah.
I mean, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
social
I'm all
reading, we
about that.
know, is powerful, right? Because kids are social, and most learning is social. So the fact that they can gather around and read together, read each other's books, or share that way is really a powerful thing. That's a good thing. And we do want them to read
What's really
together.
sweet too is when you have the older ones compliment the younger ones. Oh, that was good job, you know.
Yeah, and it's so genuine from each other, right?
Yeah,
It's
well,
not like when
yeah.
a parent says it.
The parents, you're like, yeah, okay. You know, when I tell my kids they look good, they're like, yeah, you're my mom.
And, you know, the computer really brings that as well, and that is really not judgmental. And so that when a child's reading and has to click on 8 words on a page to hear what those words are because they couldn't read them,
Right.
the computer's not going to say, oh, you need 8 words on that page.
Right.
And we parents sometimes might do that. So it's nice
Some
to have
will,
the
not me.
computer.
Or the parent would
be
say,
supportive.
you know that word.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the pressure.
The pressure. Yeah.
Or in the moment of the story to say, no, sound out that word.
yeah.
And instead,
And the
they
kids are
want to
like,
just know what's going to happen
yeah.
next. So the
Yeah.
computer really can be very supportive in that way as well.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Like when you're like, okay, you sound the word out. They're like, well, I want to find out what happens next. Can we just move on and I'll sound it out later? Or
Right, and it's really 2 different thought
It
processes
is.
for them.
it is.
Well, thank you so much for coming and being with us today at MommyCast.
Thanks for having me.
Now we're gonna go explore some books.
Let's go explore Disney Digital Books.
Okay.
It's hard. Disney Digital Books. Disney Digital
It's hard
Books.
to do.